Hey everybody, today we're going to disassemble a SIG M400. To start this, you're going to need the smallest punch that you can find. This one is a 1/16 inch, a T15 Torx bit, a contoured punch for taking out your bolt release and not scratching the lower receiver. I also have one that's intentionally bent to avoid scratching if I need to drive this way. I have a M4 rod, M4 mag block, and a punch block. First thing I'm going to do is take this apart, separate the upper from the lower. Set that aside. We're going to focus on doing the upper receiver first. So I'm going to set the lower receiver aside. Put my reaction rod in my vise. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove my charge handle and my bolt carrier group. Set that aside. Set that aside. Now I can put this in my reaction rod. I'm going to rotate the camera. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my T15 and I'm going to loosen this. There's two different sides to this handguard. You have one that has one side has a little gear like that. You're not going to take that one out first because it can't rotate with that screw from this side. So you're going to take this one out first. Always bag your parts. Now we can rotate it. Now your handguard this is soft, so we're good. I have a little lock on the inside of this handguard, the BCM handguard. It goes in just like that. But you can see where it was wearing on that. That was way too tight. But now that that's off, you can see that your rod for your dust cover is still not going to come off. We got to take this off. In order to take this off, we got to take this off. We're not Cerakoting the barrel. Let's see if I can't take this barrel nut off without having to take the gas block off. The likeliness of that happening is pretty slim though. BCM barrel nut wrench. And I just so happen to have one. Okay, you're gonna need a 1/2 inch drive, breaker bar, ratchet wrench, whatever. Make sure it's a 1/2 inch. BCM barrel nut wrench. Put this on and make sure that I'm not hitting the gas tube. I am not, so we're good to go. There's your barrel assembly. Now that that's all out, hold your spring right here so it doesn't go flying. Pull your rod out. Dust cover, spring, rod. Your upper receiver is now stripped except for the forward assist. You're going to take your punch and drive that pin out right there. I'm going to show you how to do that right now. All right, now we're going to drive this pin out, put it in your block, depress it. Now it's stuck in there. These little punch blocks are pretty handy. There's that. There's your pin. Throw those in your parts bag. Now I got a stripped up receiver ready for Cerakote. Next, lower receiver. All right, now we're going to take apart the lower receiver and I'm going to start with my grip. I know I'm going to need my block, so I'll go ahead and put that in my vise. Get it ready for later. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is take apart the grip. Remove the back plate. Sometimes when we disassemble customers' guns, we find little Easter eggs inside. Today we found some SIG lube and the battery. We'll put those aside. We'll put it back in the grip when we're done. Okay, for this grip we're going to need a long flathead screwdriver. We'll put it down in here. There's your screw. Now whenever you take this grip off, you need to be careful of two things. Number one, your safety spring. Don't lose that. Also, your safety detent. You see this little hole right here in the side of the receiver? That little hole right there? If I push this, make sure my hand is cocked back. If I push this, you can see that detent move. I'm gonna take it, turn it upside down. Almost out. There it goes. Okay, here's your safety detent right there. Looks like a little tiny bullet. All right, it's a little different than your other detents. You're gonna have two other detents in here. One on your forward takedown pin and one on your rear. Those look a little bit different. I'll show you those next. The next thing we're gonna do is take down our front detent pin. You're gonna need your small punch, and apparently this one doesn't fit in there, so you're gonna need something smaller. A lot of times I will use like a small tiny little Allen key. You're going to depress the detent that's underneath this pin through this hole like that as you're rotating this pin. So you can see that I've rotated it, which means now this little channel is where that detent rides. Now I'll have it captured in between the receiver and the bottom of this pin. I'm gonna put my hand here to cover up from that detent. I don't want that detent to launch out, so I'm just going to hold it like that and pull this pin out, and you can hear I just caught the detent. That detent looks a little different than this one. Give you a zoomed in shot right now and show you the difference between the two. You're going to have your front takedown pin and obviously a spring that is trapped in that little hole. That's the spring right there. So you'll do spring, detent, pin. The rear one, I'm going to take all this apart, so we'll get there. We're not going there next though. Next we're going to take out this. We'll have a whole mechanism here for your mag release. And what I like to do is grab one of my punches and push it to where it protrudes out the side of the receiver like so. And then just rotate this thing counterclockwise until it comes out. Now you have that. You got a spring that slides on there like that through the receiver though. Keep that in mind. And then your button like so. And that's how it looks when it's installed in the receiver. Next I'm going to take out my mag release. And I want to drive it out this way this time. So I'm going to use my purposefully bent, contoured punch. You can see that this punch is shaved on one side. So it allows me to put my punch in like this without touching the lower receiver. Okay, now that's your bolt catch. You got a little detent. It's actually called a plunger. This is what that little plunger looks like. That plunger, and down in this hole, you can see that there's a little spring. There it is, right there. It almost looks identical to the spring in the trigger for your sear reset. I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, there's your little pin that goes through that and these two holes to hold that in. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is pull out my hammer spring. We'll do that hammer spring first. What I'm going to do is take a punch. Hammer spring punch. Release the hammer. That's your hammer. Next I'm going to do this one for the trigger. Hammer spring, pin. Okay, now since this has an ambidextrous safety, I'm going to have to take out this little pin first before I can get the trigger out. So we'll just take a little punch, stick it on that ambi side of the safety. Grab that little pin out. This should slide off. Now your safety will come out. Safety's out. Now your trigger will come out. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is take off castle nut, back plate, and rear takedown pin all at the same time. We're also going to remove your buffer spring detent. Go ahead and take your buffer out, set it aside. You're not going to need that. I'm going to go back to the vise to show you these final steps. Next, you're going to need a handy dandy castle nut wrench tool. Slide that thing on, bust that sucker loose, and then loosen your castle nut. Backing plate, pull it off as far as you can. Give it one little like quarter turn. Let me show you this. There's a little spring right there. See that spring? You need to pull that spring out. And the detent for your rear takedown pin is in that hole. So I'm just going to tap it on the bench. There it is. Now you can see that it came out. Back to the vise. Okay. Now I'm going to put my finger on my detent so that it doesn't go flying as I rotate this off. Okay, it's loose enough for me to pull out my detent. Got that out, set it aside, and keep unscrewing until it comes all the way off. Okay, it's off. Since my detent, my spring are out, I'm going to go ahead and pull out my rear takedown pin all the way. Okay, that sums it up. I've got a stripped blower receiver now. Everything's out of it. I'll bag all these parts up and get these in the Cerakote process. And then we're going to throw it back together the same way we took it apart. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe.